Good evening, folks. Well, I'm giving you fair warning. Tonight, I'm going off, okay? This is going to be kind of a freewheeling discussion because I am pissed off. So I'm reading this article today about Caitlyn Clark's disastrous second season. Okay, so let's talk about why this has been a disastrous second season for Caitlyn Clark. We're going to start with all of the blame. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not laying any of this on Caitlyn Clark's shoulders. None of it. So let's make one thing absolutely clear. When Caitlyn Clark came into this season healthy, she came into the season in mid-season form. In her first 5 games, she had a triple-double and 2 double-doubles. Okay? Nobody else in the league did that. Nobody. Then the injury started, and Caitlyn Clark had problems with her long shots. Now, every single shooter has had these problems before. Okay? Steph Curry has had them. They've all had them. But I maintain that a large part of it is not the sophomore slump. It is the fact that Caitlyn Clark can't get more than 5 games in before she gets re-injured. Caitlyn Clark has gone through literally one entire season and at least half of this season being targeted by the other players in the WNBA. And why are they targeting her? They're targeting her because nobody plays basketball like her, because she's hard to stop. And rather than actually play defense, they'd rather just smash her around. And that's what they do. And they do it freely because the referees pretty much swallow their whistles. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Never. In one game this year, Rebecca Lobo called out at least 6 fouls on Caitlyn Clark's body on one play to the basket. They finally blew the whistle on the 6th. She has been pretty much battered like that for a year and a half. It's kind of hard to stay healthy when that kind of stuff is going on. Let's look at some of the worst fouls. One was last year from Kennedy Carter, who blindsided Caitlyn Clark when the ball was dead and pushed it to the ground. I can handle hard fouls. I can handle physicality. What I can't handle is thug basketball. Okay? That was thug basketball. Was Kennedy Carter thrown out of the game? No, she wasn't. She wasn't. When you don't keep control of the game, right, this kind of stuff keeps happening. This year, J.C. Sheldon, who I believe is not a great basketball player, but a hell of an enforcer, pulled Caitlyn Clark in the eye, and then while Caitlyn Clark had her back turned, Marina Mabrey came in and slammed it to the ground. Was Marina Mabrey thrown out? No, she wasn't. She wasn't thrown out until later in the game when Sophie Cunningham tackled J.C. Sheldon to get back at her on behalf of Caitlyn Clark. Then the fist fight ensued, and Marina Mabrey was one of the people tossed. She should have been tossed when she knocked Caitlyn Clark to the ground. There are countless incidences of this, and we are constantly gaslit and told that nobody's targeting Caitlyn Clark. That's an utter lie. It's a lie. Anybody with any kind of rational thought process knows what they're looking at here. And why is it happening? You know what? We have a bunch of petty little jealous entitled women playing in the WNBA. That's what we have. That's part of it. The other part of it is that nobody knows how to stop her. And you know something? Paige Beckers has admitted that she's had to learn how to play defense while fouling because they can get away with it here. They couldn't get away with it in college, but they can get away with it here. They blow the whistle in the NBA. They can't seem to find the whistle in the WNBA. And the league is a joke. The league is a total joke. And they want respectability, but they're not earning it. who else is to blame besides the referees? How about Sue Block? Sue Block, who is the woman who oversees the referees. The referees who don't even report to the WNBA. They're not even employees of the WNBA. They are freelancers. Did anyone even know who the hell Sue Block was? I didn't until I looked her up. You never see her. You never hear from her. It's always Kathy Engelbert who makes the comments about the referees, who makes the comment that the team's complaining about the refereeing are teams that are not very good. Well, I got news for you, Kathy. That's bull. Okay? The players who play thug basketball, they're not very good defenders because they've not been taught to defend. Their coaches allowed them to play thug basketball, and they are to blame for Caitlyn Clark's disastrous year as well. The girl has not been able to string more than 5 games in a row on the basketball court before getting re-injured. And then we had J.C. Shelton again on July 15th in Boston, a game I was at, knee Caitlyn Clark in the groin, knowing that she was just coming back from a groin injury. I know what I was looking at. I've watched the video 100 times. They didn't even blow the whistle and call a regular foul on that play. I didn't pay money to see the WWE. I paid money to see basketball, and I paid money to see Caitlyn Clark play basketball. I wonder if any of these girls think that they seriously are responsible for getting chartered jets now, for getting written up in all the newspapers, all the articles I'm seeing. They never wrote about the WNBA before. I know, I've been following since Rebecca Lobo's day. To get the media coverage they're getting, to get their big-ass TV contract. Why do you think they got all that? They got all that because Caitlyn Clark came into the league last year. And yet the WNBA can't acknowledge it, didn't build around it, because they didn't want to ruffle any feathers. Well, you know something? Let me tell you something. The Boston Celtics made no bones about building a team around Larry Bird. The Los Angeles Lakers made no bones about building a team around Magic Johnson, and the Chicago Bulls didn't make any bones about building a team around Michael Jordan either. Yet the Indiana Fever seems to be having a hard time building a team around Caitlyn Clark. Because this is not the team for Caitlyn Clark. We're going to talk about that in a separate video. I'm not getting into that tonight. Then we have Coach Parseltongue, who I will get into tonight. I give her credit for bringing a defensive strategy to the team. I do. And I give her credit also for saying she wants them to learn how to play defense without fouling. Because in any civilized league, it's 6 fouls and you're out. Except they don't blow those whistles in this league. The only person I've seen leave because of exceeding the foul limit was Brittany Griner when she elbowed Caitlyn Clark in the neck. And I know that's what she did, no matter what Brittany Griner says. I watched it. And I also didn't need to hire a professional lip reader to see what Brittany Griner said on camera as she mouthed the words when she sat down on the bench. I can read lips. A bunch of jealous, petty women. I thought men were petty until I met these women. These women take the cake here. And by the way, their coaches who allow them to play thug basketball are as much to blame for this as anyone else. Because instead of talking about good sportsmanship, they just kind of let them do it. In fact, in some circles, it's a strategy to stop Caitlyn Clark. Because there's no other way to stop her, apparently. Because you'd have to learn how to play defense to do that. But back to Coach Parseltongue. Coach Parseltongue, who uplifts everybody in the league. Okay? Now we're waxing poetic about Chloe Bibby, someone who came here from nowhere, who's played 1 game as a member of the Fever, had a good game against a really bad team. And we can't stop talking about Chloe Bibby, but we can't give any flowers to Caitlyn Clark if you're Coach Parseltongue, because we don't want to show any favorability. She doesn't even know what kind of injury her star player has. No clue. I stay in my lane, she says. That's her favorite line. I stay in my lane. What the hell? Who ever heard of that? The coach of the team doesn't know the severity of the injury of their star player. And if the Indiana Fever are better without Caitlin Clark, why are they 7-7? If they're better without Caitlin Clark, they should have a winning record without Caitlin Clark. They have a winning record with Caitlin Clark, not without her. Caitlin Clark hasn't played a basketball game now since July 15th. We're moving into August now. The rumor is that she's coming back around the middle of August, like around the 12th. That would give her 11 games left in the season if she can stop from being mugged again before we get into the playoffs. So she can get her feet under her and get some kind of rhythm going. But again, Coach Posteltine has to do some work to get that to happen because I've never seen anything like it. First of all, her offensive strategies are like something I've never seen before. They make no sense. It makes no sense to play Caitlin Clark as a small forward. We have a small forward. We have a couple of small forwards. Okay? I've never seen anybody get picked up under their own basket before and bodied all the way up to the other end like Caitlin Clark is. I mean, it's every single play, every time she touches the ball. You would think that there would be some kind of help offense there. Breaking the press, that's what it's called. Somebody hangs back so she can pass the ball to them so that they can then feed it back to her. So she can feed it into Aaliyah Boston, who's under the basket. The most potent, deadly pick and roll duo in the WNBA is Caitlin Clark to Aaliyah Boston. Hands down. And it barely gets used. It barely gets used with Coach Posteltine. Playing Caitlin Clark as a small forward is like rebuilding a player to be something entirely different than she was. Caitlin Clark's big strength, and it was proven last year under Christy Sides in the second half of the year, was in transition. She is the reason the Indiana Fever went to the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. So let's talk about this while we're dispelling myths. Now the statement that Paige Bueckers is a better rookie than Caitlin Clark was, well, first of all, the numbers don't prove that. You want to talk strictly statistics and records, that gets blown out of the water right there. Paige Bueckers is a hell of a basketball player. She's above average, and she is a great shooter. I like her a lot. She is not Caitlin Clark, nor is any other player in the WNBA. And the Indiana Fever seems to forget that they couldn't put 4,000 asses in the seat of Gainbridge Fieldhouse until Caitlin Clark came to the Indiana Fever. Now they have a waiting list for season tickets. They have never got empty seats now. Every stadium she goes into across this country has 10 rows deep, people waiting for her to give them an autograph. Adults, but mostly little children, boys and girls. She's inspiring future generations of basketball players. They used to have 4 teams in Indiana. Now they have 44 for youth basketball. What do you think? That just happened overnight? And yet Caitlin Clark, in spite of all of this, in spite of all the cheap shots, in spite of all the cheap comments, never says a bad word about anybody because she's not going to lower herself to that level. She's got way too much class for that. She's injured, and it's hard for her to not be on the court. I don't think anybody can appreciate how difficult that must be for somebody like Caitlin Clark, who is driven to be a basketball player. Absolutely driven to be a basketball player, and absolutely driven to be the best basketball player she can possibly be. But yet she sits there for every single game on the court. She sits there on the court and she cheers on her teammates. She celebrates for them when they win. She consoles them when they don't win. She congratulates her coach, who, really, that'd be the last thing I did if I were Caitlin Clark. And when there's not a game, she's out dedicating a basketball court for kids in need that was put together through her foundation, or giving out backpacks in schools full of supplies and books for the upcoming school year. I don't see any of that happening anywhere else in the WNBA. And yet the WNBA fails to capitalize on this. All of the coverage she gets is organic. It's not because the WNBA has a great PR machine going, because they wouldn't know what public relations looked like if it hit them in the freaking head. Christine Brennan was right. Caitlyn Clark is on her game. And the WNBA, they have missed the boat and they continue to tread water. And it's on them. I will talk to you all later.